Criminal trespass entitles a person who trespasses to cause harm or damage to any property or structures of a property. When it comes to minors, punishment can end up in fines, community service, or restitution.
If we make an arrest, or in the kid's sake, if we obtain juvenile petitions on the child, on the juvenile, and we proceed with court, because first, if it's their first offense, it's handled judicially, meaning that it'll be handled through the intake office. In other words, they won't go to court. They'll go through some counseling, some classes, they'll put them on some type of restriction, and then after a certain amount of time, it's actually deleted from their record. Now, if it's a case where the juvenile has had a past, and it doesn't have to be just vandalisms, it could be anything else, but he has a past and he has a record with the juvenile intake office, what they'll do is we'll obtain petitions. The officers will obtain petitions, and then they have to show up in court with a parent, and then it all depends on the judge, the outcome, the disposition of that case. They could do anywhere from restitution to a community service to I've never seen them actually do a detention for vandalisms, but what I've seen most of in this area is restitution and community service, and a lot of times you have to clean up your own mess. Vandalism, in order for it to be labeled as a felony, it has to be over $1,000. So with that being said, I have very seldom seen a vandalism that'll reach $1,000. Anything under $1,000 is a misdemeanor. That's the difference between a vandalism, misdemeanor, and a vandalism, felony vandalism. Most of the vandalism that we see here is kids tagging their name. We had a case several years ago where this one kid just went around the whole neighborhood just tagging his name. He had a moniker, an English moniker, and turns out what he didn't know was that in Spanish, and this kid was a non-Spanish speaking kid, in Spanish, what he was tagging was a derogatory term. So when we finally called him, we told him, do you know what you're tagging? And we told him what he was tagging. He was like, oh my God, I did not know that. He tagged it in so many places that if we would have combined all the events, it would have been a felony. We've had other cases where they went into a vacant home and they splattered the place with gang names, your typical local gang names. We've had cases where they'll just drive up and down the street and just throw in their tag, graffiti on public property. If the property owner sees the kid doing it, picks up the phone, he can call 911. We'll send an officer out, and if the kid is still there, we'll interview the kid. We'll gather his information. We'll call a parent, regardless of the time, regardless of the time of day or night. We'll call the parents, and then we'll obtain petitions at a later date.